Individual Artist Grant Information Session. We're really glad to have you here and to share this information about this wonderful grant program. As you know, my name is Miriam Manda, and I'm the Manager of Grants and Community Engagement with ArtsBuild. And I'm the primary contact for this grant program and our other grant programs as well. We have this lovely mural up here that James reminded me to give a shout out to the artists. So it's a mural that's done by Jody and Keila Harris of Jody Art Gallery, and their gallery is just over here on MLK, which is just around the corner from our office. So if you get a chance to check it out, please do, including their art gallery as well, which is really beautiful. And they do lots of great events and programming with local artists. So I encourage you to connect with them as well.
Yeah, I've actually done an event with them probably 2019
Mm-hmm.
before the pandemic, but we sat on a panel together, and yeah, I love them.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're already aware of their work. So this is just a quick agenda. I'm just going to give some introductions about ArtsBuild, and then excuse me, give a grant program overview, and then open it up to any questions that you may have. So if you're not already familiar with ArtsBuild, we are a local arts nonprofit here in Chattanooga. Our mission is to build a stronger community through the arts, and we do that through providing funding and support for arts programs and education initiatives in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. We work to support individual artists, organizations, and local community groups to develop arts programming and resources for our community. This is just a graphic of our main programmatic areas that include grant making, arts education, advocacy work. We also have a shared services program as well as a leadership development program. So if you haven't yet, I encourage you to visit our website and find out more about what we do. We also have a weekly e-newsletter if you want to stay up to date on all of our programming, but not just what we provide, but everything that all of the local arts community is doing, from programs and to other grant programs that you're able to apply for. And if you want, since I do have your email address, I can sign you up for that as well. So we also have lots of great resources on our YouTube page where we share recordings of all of our shared services programs and grant workshops. We also do a monthly Friday community Zoom where we provide a platform for artists and organizations to come together and share information. And ArtsBuild itself also just shares relevant information to the local arts community. So I can also add you to that email list as well if you'd like. This is just a quick overview. The Racial Equity Grants for Individual Artists is a grant program that's aimed at increasing arts and culture produced by diverse artists that are reflective of our community. As you know, the application deadline is Monday, May 31st, and the application closes at 11:59. And as far as the eligibility of the grant, it is, this grant program is open to support all minority artists. And so we're going through each group every year. And so this year we're focusing on funding those that identify as Black or African American. And then the next year it will be focused on those that identify as Latino or Hispanic, and then we'll move on after that year to focus on Asian and Indigenous people. So if you know anybody else that would be interested in applying, you can let them know that this will be available to other artists. And then it's aimed at emerging or mid-career minority artists, specifically living and working in Hamilton County, and those that are 18 or older. And so the maximum awards that you can request for this grant is up to $10,000. And we will be awarding 5 grants per grant cycle. And there's no matching funds required for this grant. Some of our other grants, if you take a look at them, that you're welcome to apply for as well, do sometimes have that as a requirement. So as far as the funding restrictions, just know that whatever you propose in your grant needs to be, if you are funded, it needs to be completed by June 1st. So whatever you're proposing needs to fall within, now and June 1st of next year. Oh, sorry, June 30th of next year. Grant funds cannot be used for things such as capital improvements on buildings or construction, or for seed money for starting an organization or fundraisers. And so we have these 3 funding categories that are outlined in the application. So you can apply either for an artist's work, funding for artist work that can include funding to develop new artworks or exhibitions or performances that you have been wanting to do, and maybe you don't have the time to take off work, or maybe you don't have the money to rent a space or to work on producing something. The other category is equipment, so funding to support the purchase of relevant supplies, tools, or other major equipment purchases for any upcoming new projects that you may have. And then the last category is professional development, and that's to support things that can include attending workshops or conferences, artist in residency programs, if you want to take courses, anything that is relevant to improving your work. And so these are just a couple of the things thrown out there as far as like what you can include. So artist fees. So if that includes like paying yourself to produce an artwork. Supplies and everything else that I kind of mentioned. Lodging, if you're looking at doing professional development, that's covered in there, or conferences, if you need travel for going to attend a conference or to participate in an artist residency, or paying for course fees. And then assessment tools, because that is part of what we require when you apply for a grant, is to document and assess your grant. The required supporting material. So you are prompted in the application to provide work samples. And one thing to note is that there is like a maximum limit of 250 megabytes that the system, as far as uploading work, you can compress your files. There's links within the application to compress files, particularly PDFs or JPEGs and those kinds, like images or something like that. And then the other option, alternatively, if you find that you're either having trouble uploading work samples or you don't have enough space, if you have YouTube links or Facebook links or links to a Vimeo video or anything like that, you can always include those in your the narrative section of your application. Just be sure that before you submit, like there's a way you can look at your application in a PDF version. Just make sure when you click on it, it actually takes you to that link, because sometimes people link things in their application and the link is incorrect. Like it didn't copy over, or there's something, that didn't quite work with that. The other thing is to just be really conscious of like being highly selective about the kinds of work samples that you're sharing. Just keep in mind that the people, the panelists that we have reviewing applications are going to look at a lot of applications. So you don't want them to be overwhelmed. You want to be highly selective in the sense that what is your best work that's going to, really represent you and your work as an artist. So just, be mindful of what you're sharing. Don't, obviously we want to see as many work samples, but don't overshare. So yeah, that's something to just keep in mind. And some additional information is that, as I mentioned, we do require that you assess and document how you're using your grant funds, and that, we want you to have some kind of outcome and to, show us like how you're planning on using your funds. And so that's, why the narrative part and the assessment and documentation is important. And that's why we also allow you to include that in your budget. Because, and documentation and assessment can come in different forms. Some people will upload photographs. If you do something within the category of artist work, say you produce some kind of concert or performance, you can upload a recording of that, any marketing materials, just something to show us that, what it is that you've accomplished with your grant program. And then as far as an assessment, we do have at the end a final report. And so we ask you questions about how, you saw yourself meeting your goals as far as what you wanted to accomplish with this grant. One other thing is that you do need a federal tax ID or social security number, and that you also must reside within Hamilton County, and of course, upload a proof of residency. Another thing I'd like to point out is that if you do receive grant funding, you will receive a 1099 tax form after you've completed your grant. And then as far as the evaluation criteria, it is part of how the grant panelists look at your application. There are these 8 criteria that we're looking at: the strength and quality of your proposal, if you're able to demonstrate the capacity to use the funds thoughtfully, and that includes like your planning and your budget, like making sure those things kind of line up. Planning, as I said, or emphasizing that's an important part to make sure that you can actually implement your project, whatever it is. Having a reasonable budget to implement your grants, and then having outcomes that are clearly stated and attainable. And then, of course, as I mentioned, plans for documenting and assessing your strategies. And one thing I encourage you to do is, before you do submit your application, look at these criteria, ask yourself, like, in looking at your own application and having other people look at your application, which is what I highly encourage, is, ask yourself, like, am I demonstrating capacity to use these funds thoughtfully? Like, do I have a narrative that is going to show that? Because a lot of the time, we have an idea in our head, but it doesn't quite come across on paper, which is why we will have a grant review process that kind of gives you the opportunity to talk about your grant program. But this is the first step, and this is a first impression that you're making. And, it can be hard to condense and narrow down some of your ideas. So it's definitely helpful to make sure you reference the evaluation criteria. And so I did mention that we do have a grant panel review. So our panels are made up of members from the community that represent demographic, geographic, and artistic distribution within our community. And it also will have ArtsBuild board members. During the panel meeting, we'll ask applicants to briefly talk about themselves and their work and their application. And then it'll also be the opportunity for the grant panelists to ask any questions or provide any feedback or comments about your application. And, this is a way to, get feedback, hopefully, if you want to use this. A lot of times, like, once you start a grant application, you can use it to apply for other grants. So it's a great way to help improve your application if you plan on applying for other grants as well. Just a few tips. Of course, make sure you read the guidelines thoroughly to make sure that you're eligible. Make sure that you carefully complete your application. Make sure you're answering all the different parts of the questions, because some questions have more than one question, and sometimes people will just answer the first part and they might not answer the second part. Make sure you've explored the application as soon as you can. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. We did have a draft review, although the deadline for that has passed. But if you are in need of having someone to look at your application, you can always reach out to friends or family, because I do think it's important to have somebody else read your application. Be clear and concise in your application. As I said, the grant panel is going to be reading through a lot of applications, so you don't want them to get too bogged down and confused. Also, make sure that you are saving your work in the application. I actually encourage you to write your application outside sometimes, because people have told me that they've gone in and something happened, and if you didn't click save, it didn't save it. So maybe start with a Word document or a Google Doc and just type in your answers and then copy and paste them into the application. Double check your budget to make sure your expenses and whatnot and everything is outlined correctly. Don't wait till the last minute. If you do have troubles, there is a step-by-step tutorial walkthrough that takes you through all the way from creating an application to troubleshooting, uploading your documentation. And that's available in the portal. If you go to Tech Tips, there's a link there that says, it's like a whole PDF that walks you through the application and how to get started. And as I said, I'm always here as a resource. Please feel free to contact me. And yeah, I would like to stop screen sharing and open it up to any questions or comments from everyone.
Hey, Miriam, it's James. I just had one comment. Excuse me, when you mentioned about the 1099, I just wanted to make it clear in the recording that that means that if you ask for $10,000 and you are awarded it, we're going to send you a 1099, but we also have to report that $10,000 to the Internal Revenue Service, which means you will have to pay taxes on it as income. So you will want to think about that and just be prepared for those implications when you do your taxes in the upcoming year.
Thanks for clarifying that further. Do our guests have any questions?
I don't have any, but thank you all for your time this evening.
Of course, my pleasure. And I'm going to plug in, this is the GoSmart tutorial if anyone needs that. And then I'm also going to plug in my email address as well.
And we will make this recording available after the fact. I know Miriam's going to add it to the GoSmart webpage. And Miriam, once you get the link, you could share it just with the full email list too, of all the applicants.
I will.
Thank you.
Yeah. Josiah and Shanice, do you guys have any questions?
I'm good. Thank you so much. It's super.
Great.
Hey, no, I don't have any questions. Thank you all for your time and telling us that information. It's very valuable.
Of course. My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. Well, as I said, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. And if anyone is interested in being added to our email list, please let me know and I can add your email to that.